I'm the director for the Department of Community Resilience, 747 Mix Avenue, and I will be here with Jacoy, who's our program manager over this particular grant, and then Captain Fumiati will be able to introduce himself.
Good evening, Alders. My name is Jacoy Beelan. I am the program manager for the Office of Violence Prevention, specifically managing the press program. And you're at 165 Church Street, first floor, Fairhaven, Connecticut.
Good evening, Alders. Captain Fumiani with the Police Department over Professional Standards Training and Administration, and 1 Union Avenue, New England, CT.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So the purpose of us presenting ourselves before you tonight is through the Office of Violence Prevention. We are requesting an extension through September 2027 that will enable our press program, which stands for Pathway to Reintegration, Engagement, Strategy, and Support, for participants to continue delivering proven interventions that support individuals in the highest risk when we talk about recidivism. Extending this funding will sustain direct assistance for these folks, case management support, workforce development, training and reentry services, while maximizing existing investments and advancing long-time participant success. So the first organization I want to talk about is 4CT. They provide direct cash assistance to those individuals who are most at risk. And so when we say most at risk, we have University of New Haven here as well tonight, where we created a risk assessment for these individuals to be able to identify where is the risk. So these are very high level folks who are either gang involved, who have had either they've been a victim of gun violence or they have been a perpetrator of gun violence. Accomplishment so far is that we provided over 186,000 in basic and essential needs. So when we think about folks that are coming home from incarceration or individuals who are at risk and in risky behavior, a lot of times there's drug dealing and other things that are associated with these individuals. To be able to provide them with those basic needs, essential needs, from clothing during the wintertime, clothing for the summer. We also assist with groceries, medication, housing assistance, emergency relocation. So that's another piece of this work where individuals are not safe in the particular neighborhoods of where they were committing their crimes. And so ensuring that we have this funding that will be able to support these folks in being successful. We also provided over $55,000 in workforce development. That could be workforce clothing, getting back and forth to work, having to pay for different supplies for employment. This includes also transportation. Vital statistic documents is another piece that a lot of times I think we forget when individuals are really not thinking about making sure that they have these things in place. When it's time to think about it, we've got to kind of give them that, not a handout, I call it a hand up, and making sure that they have the necessary items in place. And then on the job workforce supplies. The plan through September 2027 is to continue to work directly with the Office of Violence Prevention and our press partners, a couple who are here tonight, to coordinate direct cash assistance for those that are highest at risk. And then Jacoy can speak to Connecticut Violence Intervention and Prevention, which is CTVIP.
So another one of our partners, Connecticut Violence Intervention and Prevention, we work with them so that they can provide life coaching. And right now they're providing life coaching to over 40 individuals that have enrolled into the press program. These individuals who need case management, cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, direct cash assistance to help with purchasing some of those basic needs, and also job development assistance, and also providing transportation. Some of the accomplishments so far, CTVIP has helped with providing housing assistance to individuals. This includes groceries, medication, clothing, housing assistance, emergency supplies, and more. CTVIP also, outside of the life coaching, they provide some street outreach with the life coaches, and have responded to some of the incidences that occur within the city of New Haven, and meeting those families at Yale Hospital as well. The plan through September of 2027 is to continue to work directly with those that are highest at risk for recidivating, with OVP and with press partners to coordinate direct access for cash assistance for those that have the highest risk of recidivating.
Next.
Another partner within the Office of Violence Prevention and Press Initiative is the Goodwill of Southern New England. The current activities and deliverables are to provide services to 75 unique press participants, along with welcoming home and providing reentry services to 400 individuals throughout the city of New Haven. Some of the accomplishments so far are providing immediate basic needs, assistance, and support to at least 40 individuals seeking reentry. Another big accomplishment was the opening of the Reentry Welcome Center, and continuing to expand on the services within the Reentry Welcome Center through the Good Path program and the TEP initiative at the Goodwill. Employing individuals who live with experience. They also hired a new employment specialist as well that's going to help provide employment services and job writing services to individuals who are returning to the city of New Haven, and providing that workforce development experience. Some of the plans through September of 2027 is to continue to work towards engaging and serving 400 individuals.
Next slide. So here's what we know. We know that we have individuals who are on the ground doing really, really hard work. But if we don't invest in them and invest in their skill set, unfortunately, it doesn't meet the standard of what we're looking for when impacting change. And this is where partnering with University of New Haven was critical in the work. And so providing workshops on collaborative case management, employment, education, analyzing the data. And so the other big piece about our press is that we do have a case management system. And this is, I'm sure you guys hear it all the time within our city, is how we collect data can be very fragmented. Apricot allows all of our press partners to put the data into one centralized database. So we can really begin to track and see the outcomes over time based on what everyone is doing. Where a lot of times an organization could have one database for their clients, but they're not sharing that information to really look at the biggest impact. University of New Haven is instrumental in helping us identify training. And so I'll give you an example. We realized that when we're talking about this particular population, it's not just having a case manager reach out to an individual once a week, okay? We need to make sure that we're conducting relentless outreach, which is very different than case management. Relentless outreach can be 5 attempts at reaching out to this individual. It can be stopping by at the home. They're having a cookout, you go to the cookout, right? How do you engage not just the individual, but the whole family as a whole? And so any type of training that we need. Good evening, Alder, do you want to just keep going? Okay. And so University of New Haven is really assisting us in building up the skill base of what we need and what we identify when there are gaps in services and how we're working with our clients. So tomorrow there's a series, this is part 9 of a case management workshop where they're focusing on trauma-informed care. And so University of New Haven conducts our evaluation and again, supports us in all of our training for our providers. They've provided training to over 35 case managers, social workers, and the life coaches, ongoing engagement with violence reduction working groups, our Office of Violence Prevention Community Advisory Board, detailing the data and operational metrics. And so they are a very strong partner in that. The plan through September 2027 is to continue to work directly with University of New Haven and OVP and the press partners to coordinate the trainings, aiding in the success of the case management. So yes, we're focused on aiding in the success of the individual, but we're also focused on aiding in the success of our case managers and those people who are on the ground, because this work can burn folks out. So we are very happy and proud of the work. And so the next slide just gives a generic overview of the extension funds. When I talk about 4CT, what happens is, and then Jacoy talked about the work of our life coaches. 4CT holds the funds. Our life coaches, our reentry programs, they then submit a request for particular funding. So we're not just giving out funding, but we're actually really looking at what are the needs, how is this sustainable, and how can we ensure that they have the tools so that they continue on after we be able to provide them with the funding.
1 second.
Mhm.
I'd like to acknowledge Alder Troy Streeter from the 21st Ward. I don't know if the captain want to jump in or.
Yes.
Sure,
Okay.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you. So Alders, I'm here obviously on behalf of the chief. He's at another meeting over with the mayor, and he asked me to come in and support this. The police department fully supports this initiative. I think one of the best ways I've heard of gun violence and violent crime described as a public health epidemic. And so as one incident happens, then group to group incidents spread and they compound on one another. This year so far, we've had 8 non-fatal shootings to year to date. If you go back a few years, you're looking at 50. And that's 50 families impacted, that's 50 individuals, a lot of our younger people. And so what we've noticed over time is that we have to invest in different treatment options. And so what I've seen you all do is approve ShotSpotter and cameras and LPRs. And I think obviously the police department is in full support of those tools for the treatment option of the police department. But if you look at the other treatment option of how do we stop these incidents before they happen, it's these people and these initiatives just like this. And so T and her team and Jacoy and his team are instrumental in making this happen. I'm happy that she brought up relocation, and it seems like something that is really like you wouldn't even think about what does relocation really have to do with anything, but being able to move one individual, one family out of a system, an area that they've habitually been exposed to violence and over and over again. I've watched that be instrumental. It requires relatively low investment from the city for a very large payoff long term. And so I'm here to fully support that. And now is the time to keep our foot on the gas with these initiatives so that hopefully we're looking at even lower numbers next year at this time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So the overall impact, the no-cost extension will ensure uninterrupted service delivery for the individuals with the greatest needs while allowing partners to fully utilize the existing resources, deepen cross-agency collaboration, and continue building measurable outcomes related to housing stability, employment, participant engagement, and reduce recidivism. And I just have a few more stats that I'd like to share. So we've served a total of 316 individuals since the inception of PRESS. Just year to date, it's been 167 participants served, just fiscal year 26. Over 116 justice impacted families have been served. Of those families, approximately 90 of them have children under the age of 18. Roughly 80% of those families with youth reside in New Haven. 9% of our participants have recidivated, where most of the state standard, nationwide standard is 20%. This year, 16 participants were able to secure their own permanent housing. And our reentry men's group actually starts tomorrow, and William Outlaw will be leading those reentry groups. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your presentation. I will open up the questions from my colleagues. Any questions? Alder Miller. Okay, you passed the ball. Okay, Alder Hope.
You, in your overall impact, you gave some numbers. I got, the last one I heard was 316 participants. What was the next one with the families?
So I talked about 316 overall. This particular last fiscal year, we served 167. 80%, roughly 80% of those families had youth that resided in New Haven. Let's see, over 116 justice impacted families have been served. Of those families, approximately 90 of them have children under the age of 18. And so we're looking at this work through the lens of the whole family approach. We're looking at those who may have been identified as suspects or perpetrators, also then as victims in this work, okay? So we're looking at the whole scope.
Just a couple more questions.
Yes.
This is kind of new and refreshing to hear, but I just want to catch up to speed so that I can be on the same page. Hold on. What percentage of the participants you just described actually receive funds?
It could be 100%.
Okay, so just about every.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Absolutely. To me, when someone is in a heightened state of crisis, the first course of action is to stabilize. Once you are able to stabilize an individual so they're not figuring out how they're going to feed themselves, how are they going to clothe themselves the next day, right? Once we can stabilize them and build trust, they are then open to those resources and services.
What is the process to get funded?
They make an appointment. Absolutely, absolutely.
And what is the ratio of staff to participants?
So we have, and again, we can also answer this. So we just launched the Reentry Welcome Center in April through Goodwill. And so we have staff there, a case manager, we have an outreach person who assists those individuals there. But then we have CTVIP that also has 2 staff. I would say they have about 11 to 15 clients per caseload.
Yes, they have approximately 15 each per caseload currently. They can serve up to 40. So right now, I would say their numbers are about 30 participants, 15 each, but they can serve more than that.
So the reason why I ask is you always hear a story about there was not enough staff, or somebody fell over the cracks, and you have an aggressive plan, is what I heard you say just a little while ago, to make sure that we're going to cookouts, we're following up, and making sure we get the resources to those individuals. Okay, just one more.
Yes.
I might have some notes here. The Apricot database.
Yes.
Does everybody have access to that? All your partners, you gave us 4 partners. Are there more partners than the 4 that are described here?
Yes, so we have, this is specific to the BJA no cost extension. Bureau of Justice.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah, right. Okay, I get it. However, we also have braided funding, okay, for this work as a whole. So this is more of the violence, right, when we think about violence prevention, but we also have a whole reentry scope. And so we have Match is an organization that's providing reentry employment services. We have Workforce Alliance, that is an organization providing reentry workforce services. We have Emerge, that's also providing employment reentry. Everyone is needs to be in Apricot.
So if the board ever needed information on reentry, you have a database which could kick us out a report fairly easily and would provide us all the successful.
Yes, we also have our victim services, because we know for the most part, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, where most of the individuals that have been impacted by gun violence or have been accused of committing gun violence have also been a victim of gun violence. So we also ensure that our victim services folks are in Apricot as well. So then we could start cross comparing, right? So it's the same family, right? So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a lot of thoughts and questions. I will start just by saying that I know you're really brilliant, Tirza, and I mean the fact that this is in the state that it's in is really a testament to you, and I really appreciate your work.
Thank you.
I want to just ask quickly about outcomes. I know outcomes in this work is really difficult to wrap your arms around. I also know that the violence numbers for the city are amazing. Of course, we want 0, right? But like are in a totally different universe than they were last year. And we should be shouting that from the rooftops and looking at how and why that is happening. So I just wanted to get your, is this work why it's happening? Are there other factors? Integration with the police, like what is the big picture story that we should be telling about this work and the outcomes that it's producing?
Thank you, Alder Miller, for asking that and recognizing that. You know, I've been in New Haven and I've worked in New Haven and I've done reentry, you know, pretty much my whole career. So I think I understand the landscape. What has happened in New Haven and the collaboration, the cross-sector collaboration that we have with our police department, and we're communicating in ways that to me is a national model. And it started with trust and building trust with each other as partners in the work that we do. No, it is not just the Office of Violence Prevention. It's all of the partners. It is our Youth and Recreation Department. It is the police department. And I cannot leave out the community and the role of the community and really lifting the community voice and being a part of our work. It's making sure that we're sharing back out with the community. When we talk about outcomes, I bring a data lens from more of the RBA framework. And so results-based accountability. And so I'm consistently asking my staff at the end of the day, how are individuals better off? If it's not in writing, it didn't happen, right? And so it's important that when we're working, not just with the individual, but even with the partners, with our case managers, they understand the importance of the case management, the data entry, making sure that we're tracking that data. And so I would say it's a collective. It's a collective that really cares about New Haven. It's a collective where we have a different, I think, model and mindset when it comes to our PD, where we share everything. I mean, if one of us are at an event and take pictures with kids, we're sharing that out, right? But then when there is a serious incident, we are all going into a room and we're figuring out who knows the aunt, the uncle, the parents, the grandparents, the niece, the nephew, and who can get to who. I think it's the cross-sector collaboration and thinking outside of the box when we think about the whole family. And I think that's really where it's coming from. And data, I bring that data sense and understanding that RBA, how much did we have to invest, right? So when we look at these numbers for 4CT, we want to understand what is the cost of an individual who's coming home from incarceration and who can actually be successful. What does that cost? And that's how we're able to track that. How much, right? How well are we doing? How do we know how well we're doing, right? And how do we measure how well we're doing? Where's the surveys, right? Things like that. And then how are people better off? Were they able to get not just a job, but since they got that job, they've been able to move up 2 positions. They've gotten a pay increase. They were able to afford their own apartment. And so that's where the data, the RBA framework, and then the collective community work all comes together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Captain, can I ask you if I may? From your end, I mean, we've been in this a long time together. Why are we in a different place than we were in 3 years ago, even 1 year ago? I mean, yeah.
So that's a great question. I think that the things that we've seen is, I think when did your office start?
2021 it started, but implementation was 23, 24.
So if you think about it, to me, it looks like we've had a lot of change in the city for the better in that time period. You have investment in programs, you have continued investment in programs, and I think that, stops things earlier on. And then on the other side of it, if you take a gun out in the city of New Haven and you fire a weapon, the police department's going to be knocking on your door within an hour in a lot of cases, whereas before that didn't happen 5 years ago, 7 years ago, a decade ago. And so I think the opportunities that are out there for people who are just as impacted, I think we've increased that, tenfold than what we had before. And also too, I think the certainty that if you pull a trigger in New Haven that you are going to be caught, changes the dynamic entirely. And so, but you also have to have options. And so, all right, if I'm not going to be violent, what else am I going to do? That's really their expertise. I think one of the most impactful things that I've seen as a police officer, there's been a lot of things, but one was after a recent homicide of a juvenile, where everyone was brought into the room. And what Ms. Kemp is talking about is everyone was brought in the room, and there was information that was shared in that traditionally is not shared, because the end goal is to prevent more kids from dying. And I think when you have partners and people who are saying, hey, we're putting all that aside, let's make sure no more kids are dying. I've seen that was an incredible that was incredibly impactful, not just because of the work that happened, but the partnerships that are built in those rooms. I think day in and day out, there's people in the city that are working to stop the gun violence, and I think that it's a whole bunch of different things. So I'm sorry I can't give you a more succinct answer, but I think it really is investment and enforcement in a proactive, collaborative way on both fronts, I think.
Thank you. I think a lot of times the answers are never one thing, right? And it's also usually not one big flashy thing, right? It's like a lot of people doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes.
It's a puzzle.
And I think it's recognizing that there's not just one solution. I think maybe at times, people think the pendulum has to go from this side to this side. So, well, when we invest in this stuff and we invest in this stuff, then it meets in the middle and gets the results we're looking for.
Right. Just one other question about people who are immigrants, Spanish speakers, Latino. I do often struggle to find culturally responsive, like support services and services in Spanish. And so I'm just wondering, is there a group that's better at that? Is that a need that we all just need to work on? Like, what are your thoughts about how we better meet the needs of that population?
I don't know if necessarily it's a group as much as it is education and support, but also how we think about hiring. So I was really happy, Goodwill, when they started their hiring for the Ranchery Welcome Center, they do have a Spanish speaker who's able to respond and who has lived experience. So yes, but here's the reality in the landscape, in our funding landscape, and I'm glad you mentioned that. There were 2 government grants that we were not able to apply for because of the NOFO. And for government funding, I don't know the exact acronym, but there is language that the city would not sign to because we will work with everyone, right? And so that impacted my ability to apply for a considerable amount of funding around our Office of Violence Prevention work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alder Streeter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a question. I just like to commend Ms. Kemp for the magnificent job she does. She's well attuned with the community. I've seen her in action several times. Every time I called about her, she came through and she's very diligent and she follows up. And I just want to thank you for your job.
Thank you so much. And if you guys don't mind, we asked our partners to be here, so I just want to lift Len Jihad, CTVIP. We have Mary Loftus. If you guys don't know her, she is, to me, the godmother, grandmother of Reentry. She's been around. She's from Goodwill. We have Dr. Kevin Barncini, who is from UNH, and I think that's all I have here for today.
I waved to them to come up. I did offer them to come up because, the work that is happening here and the great work that you're doing, I don't want to leave nobody, out of that. And, Jihad know what it is. So, if they want to come up to the table, they still welcome to come up to the table. It's up to you.
Well, of course, Jihad's going to come up.
Why not? I would ask them to do the same thing I asked y'all good folks to do is state your name and address for the record so we can put it on the record about the great work that you are doing in ensuring in the city of New Haven. The numbers don't lie.
Correct.
The numbers don't lie, so please introduce yourselves. Your name and address for the record.
Kevin Barncini, I'm at 326 Oliver Road. I'm an associate professor at the University of New Haven.
Welcome.
Excuse me. Good evening, Leonard Jihad, 230 Ashman Street, Connecticut Violence Intervention and Prevention. I'm sorry, we rebranded a year and a half ago, and I'm founder and CEO.
Come on, man.
I'm Mary
Good to see
Loftus.
you.
Mary Loftus, Goodwill, Southern New England. We're at 61 Amity Road, New Haven.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all for coming up. And I can just keep going on and echo what it sounded like to me. It was an unfortunate situation that brought everybody in that room, right? But it sounded to me, I made the interest. I got to an interest-based problem-solving technique right? It wasn't about who gets the glory. It wasn't about who was in the room. It was about the interest of changing that life that was taken from us, right? So I'm glad that y'all put the interest first, right? To do some things in the city of New Haven, and it shows. Um, crime rate is down. Crime rate is down, right? And it takes a village. It takes all this community to get it done. I do have a question in reference to, like, how would they find out about you guys? If there was this, how would they just find out about you? They coming home, they don't know nobody, right? They not connected. Like, how would they, how would they know? Where would they go?
One thing that we did through the Office of Violence Prevention, we go into the jails now. So we looked at the numbers a few years ago. 60% of violent crime was occurring by reentry folks, people that were just coming home within the first 6 to 9 months. They were committing 60% of new offenses. So you're looking at violent cases that were in court under bail, and they were recently released. They were either on supervision or end of sentence. So with that, with support from the Office of Violence Prevention, we go into the jails. So we go into Big Cheshire, we also go into Manson Youth, and we go once a week. We run groups out there. So my credible messengers, William Jumboy Outlaw and Tyrone Tiger Whitaker, they both did in excess of 20 years. And they're impactful in the community. And anybody who's been around since the 80s and 90s, remember those names. And, we want to get those folks, coming out, on our side. So it can happen, So, those folks who did a lot of time, can come out and make a change in the community.
Absolutely. They got to give them an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just the work, and it makes sense. We do a lot of mediation also. Folks come out, they feel vulnerable, and that's one of the things that we try to measure. The vulnerability. Because people say nothing stops a bullet like a job. But if you feel vulnerable in the community, you're still going to carry a gun because you want to protect your family. So we want to reduce that vulnerability. So we asked them that question, do you have any beef coming out? I harm someone, I don't know what it's going to be when I come out. So, we mediate, So again, we try to get ahead of things. We do things that make sense. And then we document also, like T said, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. I'm kind of sick of her saying that, every week, because,
But Jihad, I've been sitting in this seat for a little while now. I think could be my second or third time as chair of public safety on this journey here at 14 and a half years. And we was always talking about not duplicating services. So you want to duplicate services, don't duplicate services. So like things has changed, right? Like now we got a database like that y'all share, that y'all see the data, right? Right, y'all not duplicating, y'all being proactive about the situation. So I'm happy to hear that we grew some.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, you may.
As well? There is no, when they say there's no wrong door, in my mind, there's no one door, right? And sometimes we need a duplication of service because what works for one may not work for another,
right.
Okay? And so it's not just one organization who's doing one particular arm of the work and that's the only one that an individual can go to. We want them to have those options. The other, Jihad talked about the inReach, but we also have meet and greets where individuals who are coming home, we actually invite them to a meet and greet at Goodwill where they get to meet the providers. We get a handle of what they need. The parole and probation officer will also be in attendance to be able to support the meet and greet and as they're coming back into our community. And so the meet and greet, and then again, people come to City Hall all the time. And so when I watched the movie Last Straw, and when people are at their last straw, you have to understand who's coming to our doors every single day when they're coming to the city. They are at their last straw. They don't know who else to turn to. They don't know who else to go to. And so we want to make sure that they have a plethora of resources. And what happens is they share the information. Jacoy does his rounds at the halfway houses, and so they all talk to each other. So there's not one way or one door of how an individual finds out about the great work that we're doing. If they trust someone at CTVIP, they're going to go to CTVIP. CTVIP is then they're going to connect them to say the Reentry Welcome Center and make sure that there's continuum while it's all being tracked.
I like it. So is there any money matching with these grants?
This is just, we're just literally a no-cost extension. So we
Okay.
did not spend down the funds. Getting the funds, of course, the federal government takes some time.
Yes, it does.
And then when I came in, my role was really implementation. So there was this vision, this idea,
Right.
but it was like, now how do we implement? And so it took some time, right? Hiring staff. So we have this leftover funding. We worked with the feds and they were like, yes, we'll give you the extension. So we're presenting this to you guys to just ask for permission to continue the work through September 2027, which it would have ended this year, September 2026.
Yeah, you know, I share some time at Goodwill. I'm always going to Goodwill, give us something at Goodwill. So you keep doing the Goodwill, and I'm gonna keep doing my Goodwill and try to help out. Any more questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very
Please do.
much.
And thank y'all for coming up.
Thank you.
all.
Yes.
Thank you, Alder.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So I'm about to, is there anyone from the public that wants to speak to this particular item? Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to this particular item? For the third and last time, was there anybody from the public that can speak to this item? If there is none, I will take a motion to close the public portion.
Mr. Chair?
Second.
All in favor of closing the public portion?
Aye.
Any discussion?
About the item?
Not yet.
Looking at us.
Discussion on closing the item. The discussion on closing the public portion. I will take a motion on the item.
Oh, so
Second.
Discussion. Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm remembering 3 or 4 years ago when we had this really bad summer. And it was just a totally different situation in New Haven. And I think there's often this impulse when things get better, you pull the services back because you think they're needed less. It happens with kids too. We interview, with kids' educations. Once they get better, then we pull the services back. And I know that the federal funding situation is going to make it even more challenging to find funding for this kind of programming. But I think we need to double down, as was said, and continue to do this and
So you are in
to do
favor?
more of it. I am in favor of this, and I'm in favor of us collectively figuring out how we keep this moving forward. Because this is another, it's till the end of till September 2027, but then what? And there may not be federal funding again until we have a new administration. So we need to work with the state, figure it out in our own budget, find other sources so that we can keep it going. Because we do not want to go back to that.
Absolutely not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Alder Hope.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm blown away at the way the program is set up. First off, I'm going back in time where violence prevention was just a conversation between the police department and a couple other individuals. And now you have a whole network out here that is doing it. Reentry was something that was discussed just by a couple of agencies, and now there's a partnership amongst many that can help others. I remember people used to get dropped off in front of Whaley Jail with a bag and a couple dollars, get something from McDonald's, and now you have an opportunity to get clothes, get fed, get an apartment, reunite with family, maybe reunite with your family in an apartment somewhere. So kudos to the team that is doing this. But I'm really impressed with the metrics. Data is really key as we move forward in our decision making as alders and financiers and grant recipients, all that. They always look at the numbers, and to have that apricot system really can show, even for us, that they are making successful waves. Thank God crime is down, but also I think the crime is down because of agencies and commitment from individuals just like those that came before us today. I will take my hat off at first. I was like, but Ms. Kemp gave a wonderful presentation and opened my eyes to something I didn't know before. But I am in full support of this, and should they ever come forward with another extension, non-monetary extension, by the way, Dave here. But if they come forward with any assistance and funding, I would be happy to sit here and help move that forward as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more? Alder Streeter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to basically piggyback what the other two alders said. This is a very great program, great concept that they have came up with, as always. As I said, they are in tune to what's going on in the city, and they enjoy their work and they do their work. So I'm in full support of this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Streeter. Yes, I am in full support of this as well. I think that this is a wonderful program, and you know, pulling this together, it was just like phenomenal. And I think we got the right leaders in the room to do what they was born to do, right? And I'm excited about this next mission, and you know, to my colleague to the left of me about the finance, the money, right? Like sometimes we find some money, sometimes we don't find some money, but it look like they're looking and finding money, right, through grants, and you know, it all boils down to the product, right? And it sounds like to me we got something good going on over there. So I am in favor as well. So all is in favor to move this to the full board. Aye. Any opposed? Any extensions? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, given the timing associated with this, we just want to make sure that the committee is okay with it being on the UC agenda, because this is going to be happening in July, you know, these contracts.
So I will take a moment to ask my public safety team, do you have an issue with that?
Not at all.
None whatsoever.
So we will move it to UC.
Just one comment about that. I think we should make sure that we highlight on the floor what this is. Sometimes that gets lost if it's on the UC agenda. So I think it's important that we tell the story of this work, and we should just not let the UC agenda speed by and not mention it.
I'll speak to Madam President and Majority and see if we can pull something together for that.
Yeah, great.
Okay. I'll take most people's favorite motion.
I want to stay longer.
I make a motion out of it.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Well, what you can say though?
I gotta go to a web meeting. What are you talking
I'm going to
about?
a web meeting. I gotta go to a web meeting. I'm going over to the anchor, man.
What's happening at the
He's having his 10th anniversary.
tonight?
Tonight.
Right after I go give my report.
Yeah, come on over. No, she's going to the anchor.
Huh?
Let's go to the anchor.
Anchor, what's that?
It's on College Street.
No, I never heard of that.
What you mean she never heard of it?
I don't know how that's possible. Anybody in New Haven, I don't know about the anchor.